For the next question, Michael Crowley with the New York Times.
Thank you, Mr. Senator.
Michael.
Thank you. Turning to the Middle East for a moment, if we may, there'll be more questions about Haiti, I'm sure. Many of us were with you in Israel in June. At that time, there was a ceasefire proposal on the table, and you said to the press corps that the prospect of a ceasefire really is down to one person at this point.
Mm-hmm.
And you said it was Yahya Sinwar, the leader of Hamas. Of course, a lot of things have happened since that time, but I wonder whether it is still your assessment that really it comes down at this point to that one man, Yahya Sinwar. There's a lot of criticism right now about the role of Prime Minister Netanyahu and what his exact position is. So I wondered if you could just kind of come back to that basic question of where you place the primary responsibility. And then if I just may add one more question, this may be in the Department of stating the obvious, but can you just, would you acknowledge at this point that the prospect of a normalization agreement between Saudi Arabia and Israel that would include some sort of a security agreement between the United States and Saudi Arabia is not going to happen under President Biden's presidency? Thank you.
Great. Thanks, Michael. So you're right that's exactly what I said in June, and you're also right that since then there have been intervening events, and I think that only underscores something truly essential, which is that as close as we have gotten, and as close as I believe we are to getting a ceasefire agreement, every day that goes by where it is not finalized and the parties don't say yes, period, is a day in which something else happens. And there is an intervening event, which simply pushes things off and runs the risk of derailing what is a pretty fragile apple cart. So the experience that we've had over the last couple of months, where there's been extraordinary work done to get a framework agreement that both parties signed on to, then to work to fill in some of the gaps because the framework agreement doesn't have every detail in it. That remain to be negotiated, things that need to be implemented. We've been doing that work, and I think based on what I've seen, 90% is agreed. But there are a few critical issues that remain where we need to be able to get agreement, and they really go to how certain aspects of the agreement would be implemented. And I think much of this has been discussed in recent days, including the Philadelphia corridor, including some of the how hostages and prisoners are exchanged. So that remains, but pretty much everything else is there. So at this point, it seems to me that it's really incumbent on both parties to get to yes on these remaining issues. And we're in very active discussions with, first of all, with our partners in this effort, Egypt and Qatar. And I expect in the coming days, we will share with Israel, and they'll share with Hamas our thoughts, the three of us, on exactly how to resolve the remaining outstanding questions. And then it will be time really for the parties to decide yes or no, and then we'll see. As to normalization, Saudi Arabia. No, I don't agree with the premise of the question, or at least the statement that it's no longer possible. Now, it's very clear to me from my conversations with Israelis, with Saudis, that both very much would like to pursue this. But there are a couple of requirements for that to happen. Number one is calm in Gaza. So this ceasefire is an essential prerequisite to being able to move forward to normalization. Second, as we've discussed, is a credible pathway for a Palestinian state. A lot of work would have to go into that. But given all the work that we've done, the United States has done with Saudi Arabia over the last year in terms of what would be required between us, given the fact that both Israel and Saudi Arabia, in conversations with us, have expressed clearly that this is something I'd like to pursue, I think if we can get a ceasefire in Gaza, there remains an opportunity through the balance of this administration to move forward on normalization.